Michigan State favored by roughly 7 points in this game, but what is going to make New Mexico a dangerous team this Sunday? Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On Spartans. It's your team in green and white every single day. Please rate, review, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. And guys, sit down for a chat with the one, the only Geoff Grammer. He is incredibly busy this weekend, specifically on this Saturday because, well, New Mexico advanced. And with the work that he does at the Albuquerque Journal, that's going to make Geoff busy. So, Geoff, thanks a lot for your time right off the bat. Second of all, tell us the story of the season for New Mexico. Obviously, strong defense, strong rebounding, Donovan Dent. But above all, what's the number one thing that has been going well for New Mexico this season?
Oh, man. So I won't walk you guys through the whole history of the program, but it is a program it's a proud program. It's actually never been to a Sweet 16, but it's kind of built on its fan base. It was in the round of 16 back in the 70s before it was a 64-team tournament. Since it's been a 64-team tournament, this team has never been to the Sweet 16, but it averages over 15,000 fans a game. Wow. It's been top 25 in average home attendance for 52 of its 55 years open that the pit has been open. It was sort of built on the 1983 Final Four. Jim Valvano's running around the court looking for someone to hug.
Sure.
It hosted that, and fans have been coming forever. So it's a really passionate program, but it actually hasn't had a whole lot of March success. So it had been going to at least either an NIT or an NCAA tournament every 2 or 3 years in its since the 60s, and then it went on a decade-long kind of hiatus from that when Steve Alford left the program and went to UCLA in 2013. 2014, the first year after he left, it made the tournament with a lot of players that held over, but then it went on a decade-long drought. And Richard Pitino, who a lot of Big Ten fans certainly know from his Minnesota days, got fired from Minnesota and within 24 hours was hired at New Mexico, where the athletic director at the time was Eddie Nunez. He's now the AD at Houston. Once played for Billy Donovan. He was a walk-on at Florida for Billy Donovan. The connection there got Billy Donovan, got Richard Pitino's name in the mix. Long story short, Richard Pitino kind of takes the New Mexico job sight unseen. He had been there once, like in 2005, I think he said, for an NCAA tournament regional game, and takes the job. Heard good things about the fan base, all that kind of stuff. Kind of resurrects the program. It took him in his second year. They were back in the NIT for the first time in a decade. Third year NCAA tournament. This is being the fourth year, and he had sort of built towards last year. He got two key transfers: Jamal Mashburn Jr. and Jalen House, Eddie House's son. So two sons of NBA players, fitting for a coach who was the son of a rather famous coach himself.
Right.
And they kind of rebuild the program, right? Well, Jalen House graduates last year. He was, by the end of the year, their best player. Jamal Mashburn Jr., who had been with Pitino for 4 years, 1 at Minnesota, 3 at New Mexico, and had 1 year of eligibility left, decided it was time to sort of branch out and move on. It was a very mutual, no bad blood kind of thing, but very mutual. He needed to move on kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I went to Temple and was a top 5 scorer in the country this year. So the Lobos lost that, but they also lost JT Toppin, a freshman they got out of Texas last year, who's now the Big 12 Player of the Year, going to be in the NBA draft probably in a month or two. And they lose that. Also in the offseason, just to add one more piece to the puzzle, before JT Toppin left, John Tonje committed. So he was 48 hours a Lobo. So for 48 hours, this Lobo team in the offseason had Donovan Dent, Nelly Jr. Joseph, JT Toppin, John Tonje, and I think Jamal Mashburn Jr. had already entered the transfer portal, but I don't think he had announced Temple yet. So I guess you could kind of say that would have been their starting 5.
Why not?
For one weekend in the offseason. So there were a lot of questions. I say all that to build this.
Yeah.
There were questions coming into this year. They knew they had Donovan Dent, who was a preseason first-team All-Mountain West. He was voted, I would guess, I don't know what the voting was, but I would guess he was the second-place guy in preseason all-conference. People knew he was going to be good.
Okay.
But you lose all that other stuff. You don't know for sure exactly how it's going to be when the keys are handed to him and it's his team. But Nelly Jr. Joseph, they knew they had a good 1 and a good 5. So as Brian Dutcher from San Diego State would describe the Lobos, they're solid up front, and they are. They're right up the middle. If you're talking kind of in football terms, up the middle, they're good. They got a 5 and they got a 1 that are as good as any, probably the best 5 and best point guard and center in the Mountain West Conference.
Okay.
And in Donovan Dent, you have a guy who is the only guy in the tournament averaging 20 and 6. He is the first player in Mountain West history. No Jimmer Fredette, and Kawhi wasn't a point guard, so he wouldn't have a lot of assists, but no Kawhi Leonard, nobody through the years, Danny Granger and all that kind of stuff in the Mountain West that ever averaged 20 points and 6 assists in league play. And Donovan Dent did that this year for the first time. He's also riding a stretch right now where it is a Mountain West record of 7 consecutive games of 20 points and 5 assists in 7 consecutive games. So he's the key to it. But I say all that, and their defense is really what made them different this year.
Sure.
As good as San Diego State is, and they're known for their defense every year, in league play, the Lobos were actually ranked higher than them on Ken Palm in defensive efficiency. And for the past decade, they hadn't been ranked higher than 5th. This year, they added some size. They just got a lot better on defense. Nelly's good. Donovan Dent's pretty good. He actually, even as a point guard, ranks in the top 10 in the Mountain West in blocks and steals. And he's not their best defender, but he's certainly a solid defender. Nelly Jr. Joseph at the back end is good. Their 4 is pretty good. Their 3 has size at 6'9" and is solid at it. But their best defender is True Washington, and he's their 2 guard. He is an on-ball, handsy, physical defender at 6'4" that is probably certainly their best perimeter defender. Him and Nelly Jr. Joseph are both first-team all-defensive guys. And I would say their defense is really what got them to sort of take the next step despite losing all that talent from last year. But Donovan Dent, in terms of individual star power, is absolutely the guy, kind of having one of those special seasons that in program history, there haven't been a whole lot of the seasons he's having.
No, we've seen some defense time and time again against Michigan State that don't traditionally play zone against other teams, but then will implement it against the Spartans because, the three-point shooting has been kind of somewhat of a roller coaster here in East Lansing. But New Mexico, is it all man over there? Have you guys mixed in zone this year? Would you expect to see any zone this upcoming Sunday? Or what does it look like from a schematic standpoint on defense? Yeah,
my guess at this point would be no zone.
Okay.
Richard Pitino is not opposed to it. He has in the past, but this year he's done it so little that I'm guessing, at this juncture, they're going to kind of sort of ride with what got him here. Excuse me. And I would be surprised to see a whole lot of zone. But what they are is kind of thin in the front court. So
okay,
foul trouble could be a problem, and sometimes foul trouble leads to zone.
5 Hour Energy is here to drag us to the finish line of these games because, as us Michigan State fans know, they like to tip us off pretty late, 10:15 on Friday. And now, hey, right before the work week, how about the late game on Sunday? But hey, you know what, guys? Let's say you got after it this weekend. You need something to drag you to tip off of this game and beyond. Well, it's right here. 5 Hour Energy, guys. They give you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. Like, hey, let's say that, you're getting beat up by daylight savings time still, especially with 2 young kids like myself. These days do get longer, and it's a lot of fun having more daylight, going outside more, going for that hike, playing some golf, whatever it is. But sometimes you need that quick little extra boost, and I get that with the Tropical Burst flavor. And it is as convenient as ever to get, guys. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, peach mango, and a whole lot more. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack delivered right to your door. Need one right now? Grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They are everywhere. Stock up to date and stay energized with 5 Hour Energy. Guys, get to Cleveland, and when you get there, hey, use the Game Time app for your tickets. It is the greatest ticketing app out there, and not just for sporting events, guys. You can use it for concerts, comedy shows, theatrical performances. If there's a ticket involved, you can find it on Game Time and save a good deal of money. Now, guys, the Game Time picks, it's the best part of the app, right? I mean, they just curate all the seats, give you the best views for the best prices. They always keep it real with their flash deals. And let's say you're a procrastinator, you don't even have tickets as you're walking up to the stadium. Well, their last minute ticket deals are still second to none in this industry. You're not going to get the runaround with Game Time either. This is what I also love. It's not 17 taps, and then when you finally are ready to check out, oh my God, what are these $80 worth of fees doing here? No, it's 2 taps. It is transparent. It is upfront. It is the best with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. It's last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Absolutely. And let's just talk about Donovan Dent specifically, because I had a take yesterday. You know what? We had a player around these parts. His name was Tyson Walker, undersized guard, but he was still a really good 3-level scorer, really good defender. And I said Donovan Dent kind of reminds me of Tyson Walker was about 2 or 3 inches taller. You know, he just is the whole package. Where is he the most dangerous, though, in your opinion? Is it behind the arc? Is it driving downhill in the lane? Is it passing the ball? I know that's such a loaded question for a guy as decorated as he is. But what do you think is his most elite attribute going into this one?
Pick and roll offense. He is
okay.
He's masterful kind of on the pick and roll, really. And downhill primarily. He's a great finisher in the paint. He's not a good outside shooter. His numbers might show that he's efficient, but he doesn't take a high volume at all. So he is very, very good at the pick and roll offense. I think he would prefer to be a pass first guy. He's averaging over 20 a game, but a lot of that's more out of necessity. I think just because he is the best scorer on the team. But I would say, you know, I've told this story to some people. I was at a game last year, so not this season, but it was when Jalen House was still there and Jamal Mashburn Jr. was still there, and they were kind of ball dominant guards as well. And the few opportunities that Donovan got, it was at Colorado State. Fran Fraschilla was there. He's a former Lobos coach. But I was sitting next to Fran Fraschilla, and we're watching Isaiah Stevens from Colorado State, who happens to now be a two-way guard for the Miami Heat and G League and Miami Heat, who's a fantastic point guard himself, one of the best in the country last year. And Donovan and him were kind of going at it at one point, and Fran Fraschilla said, these are two, like this was last year, and he said, these are two of the best point guards that college basketball has right now. And he kept raving about how good Donovan was in the pick and roll. And I hadn't seen it at that point. He certainly wasn't the primary ball handler on the Lobos because they had 3 ball dominant guards that all played at the same time. It was really hard to even know who the primary guard was from game to game.
Gotcha.
So I hadn't really noticed how good he was at it. I had heard people talk about it, so I wasn't in the dark entirely, but I hadn't really witnessed it to the extent that Fran was already seeing it and Pitino had talked about it. But man, he this year took that pick and roll kind of, like I said, he's sort of like a maestro, the way he works that pick and roll. It's not just, and it's high ball screens above the key a lot of the times, but what he does is it's not just that he's either going to dive himself or find the guy that's setting the screen, Nelly Jr. Joseph, who's fantastic at it as a center as well. He knows exactly where all the other 3 players on the court are at the time, and he uses them in a way that I haven't seen point guards use a whole lot. Now, it sounds simple enough. People that know basketball know that when you do the pick and roll, it's not just a 2-man game. It's supposed to kind of incorporate everybody. I've seen him do it in a way that just I haven't seen other people do it. And that's what I've talked to scouts about. That's what I've talked to opposing coaches about. His mastery of the pick and roll is something that's I would say certainly his best attribute.
So up the middle, just like you said, is where the Lobos are strongest. I mean, Donovan Dent, Nelly Jr. Joseph, which all name team, by the way. That's a sensational one to rattle off. Outside of that, though, is there like a microwave on this team? Who should I be worried about when I go to sleep tonight? As if I need anything else to really worry about before this game. But who's like the 3rd or 4th fiddle of this team here?
So Pitino would tell you that they're a 6-man starter team. They have 6 there's 6 guys that play primary minutes. I'd say they're about a 6.5. There's a Jovan Milicevic from Toronto. His parents are Serbian. There's 2 Serbian players on the Lobos that are actually really good.
Wow.
His minutes have picked up, so maybe they're 6.5 to 7-man rotation. But really, it's 6 primary players. CJ Nolan is the first guy off the bench and can hit some threes, and did in the first half yesterday against Marquette. I would tell you that if somebody else steps up, usually it's True Washington on defense. And the Lobos are fantastic in transition and points off of turnovers. I don't know where they rank right now. I should have looked it up, but for most of the year they were 2nd or 3rd in fast break points all year.
Okay.
And primarily that comes off of, I mean, they want to get out and run. Their tempo's top 5 in the country, and a lot of that comes off of live ball steals, pick sixes as they call them, as most people call them, where they just steal the ball kind of usually at the top of the key and just take it to the other end for a layup or a dunk. True Washington's great at that. So True Washington's kind of the 3rd fiddle. Mustafa Amzil is a former Dayton player who he's had plantar fasciitis in his foot and really kind of has been hampered with that much of the year. He's still the starting four. He shoots a lot of threes and basically hasn't been making them for about 2 months. And I don't know how much of it's the foot or what. Yesterday, he had 2 airball threes. He was 0 for 4 shooting, but he ended up with 8 rebounds and 3 steals and came up with a lot of big moments down the stretch defensively. But I bring that up to tell you, like, he used to be able to hit a lot of threes. Yeah. So I would say he's probably due. I mean, it's kind of late in the year. Any game could be their last. But I'd be surprised if he doesn't, kind of have one more hurrah of a couple threes in him, because he used to hit a lot of them and he just hasn't for like about a 6-week span now. But yeah, anyway, all 5 or all 6 really of their primary players have had moments this year where they've gotten hot. But I would say CJ Nolan off the bench and True Washington are the 2 primary ones to look at beyond their top 2 players.
I can't wait for him to inevitably go 5 of 7 from 3-point land and just start dotting these threes. That's going to be a delight to watch.
I'm telling you, man, he seems to do, like, if there's any truth to the like you're due kind of thing, the amount of threes that this guy has missed in the past several games, he's due.
If there's any fan base that should know about that, missing a lot of shots and being due eventually, it's us Michigan State fans. It's been just quite the journey in the 3-point land. Geoff, thanks a ton for your time. I'm just going to leave you with this here just to calm my nerves, Spartan fans' nerves. Again, not saying they're like, hey, it's a guaranteed win, but what should make us feel good about this matchup? Like, as a Lobo reporter, Lobo fan, what have you, in the Lobo shoes, what gives you the heebie-jeebies going into this game right now?
I would say they're so reliant in the front court on Nelly Jr. Joseph staying out of foul trouble, or being they're really thin at the 5, and even Mustafa Amzil, who plays the 4, is really more of a stretch 4, and he's been like I said, kind of injured for a long time. They have one extremely physical, very talented low post player, but it is only one. They have a Tiki Ali Atiki, who's a BYU transfer off the bench. He did play good minutes yesterday, but that's been the exception rather than the rule most of the year. So I'd say they're really thin in the front court. While they are a physical team, I would say because they're so thin, they might have to lay off trying to be physical, because if he gets in foul trouble, they're in a lot of trouble.
Are you in the prediction game by any chance, or am I bringing you into muddy waters? What do you got for this one? Sorry, I lied about that last question. This is the last question.
No, we're good. I would say I would be a little bit surprised if the Lobos get blown out. I don't think they're going to win. I mean, I think Michigan State will win, but I would be a little surprised if they get blown out. EvanMaya.com, one of the analytics websites out there, has a stat, and I forget the name of the stat, but it's
crazy, right?
It is how teams perform up to their competition, either up to their competition or down to the bad teams, right? And the Lobos for the most of the year were like top 5 in playing up to the good competition and down to the bad. They have a bad loss this year to New Mexico State at home. They have a bad loss to San Jose State. But they beat UCLA wire to wire. They beat USC, but they were up 20 with 3 minutes to go, put in their bench, and ended up winning by 10. It didn't look like as much of a blowout as it really was. Second place, Colorado State, who's still in the NCAA tournament. Another one where they were up 17 with 90 seconds to go and call off their offense. Colorado State scores the last 9 points. Then they blow them out by 19 in the pit in Albuquerque. They were at their best against the best teams they played. They just played down to their competition. Well, they don't have to worry about that as much anymore in the NCAA tournament. So I would say that they've been really, really good at playing up to good teams. I don't think it means it's going to carry them to a win, but this is a team that beat UCLA wire to wire and beat USC. Donovan Dent had 40 against a VCU team who has a really good defense. I would say that I would be surprised if they get blown out, but I don't think that'll be enough for them to pull off the upset. But I think it's going to be a good game.
Well, now I am equal parts informed and a little spooked about the game, but as Locked On listeners know, I can get spooked over literally any game in the month of March. This is the unhealthiest month of all time. But, Geoff, can't thank you enough, especially for such a busy day that you have over here running around doing all the media obligations. So can't thank you enough for carving out time here. Much appreciated. No,
I appreciate it, man. It should be fun.
Guys, we'll be back tomorrow after this game, no matter what happens, win, lose, right here, Locked On Spartans. We're going to talk about it. Take care of yourselves. Let's mix into water, everyone. All right, go green.